It's been a really good couple of years. Things are going well. If you guys have been paying attention, if you're here, you're part of the leadership, and we appreciate you being here because you're part of what's making it happen. I think we've got a very good pro-business council. We understand what it means to actually try to make our council or our county a great place to what we say live, work, and play. One of the things when we got on council that's one of our biggest frustrations that we talk about all the time is 65% of our people basically leave the county every day and they go to work in Berkeley or Charleston or somewhere else. So they're taking that expendable tax dollar with them, that tax base, you name it, and we're a bedroom community. We want to try to flip that around, and we've been working really hard to do that. Okay. I just started hearing myself in my earphones. That's all right. So we want to make sure that we can do that. We want to make sure that we can actually create jobs close to home. And that's something that we're really focused on, because if we can do that, we can help with traffic. We can help with quality of life. If you can drive 10 minutes to your house and come home for a parent-teacher conference from work instead of driving an hour and a half to Mount Pleasant or whatever it's going to be in the future, it's just something that we feel like is really going to help us in the long run. So in Dorchester County, we've got a couple things that we've been working on lately. And the first thing that we'll talk about today is just the comprehensive plan. How many of you, has anybody here gone to any of the public meetings? So we had some people that have participated in that. So every couple of years we have to update the comprehensive plan. There's a lot of people that don't think that we actually plan. We actually do plan really well, and the plan's going well. We know what we want to do. We know we're going to grow. We don't believe in moratoriums here. Okay? We don't believe in that. We think that's an admission of failure. It drives the cost of things up. It drives housing up to unaffordable levels. We do believe in trying to manage our growth in a responsible way so that we don't destroy the reason we all live here. We want to make sure that we actually try to get the infrastructure in place, that we get the things in place that make a difference. This comprehensive plan is important for that. So if you have not had a chance to have your input on that, please make sure you do. Because it is something that we've got 15 people on the committee that we've appointed to this committee, citizens, people with expertise, along with the advisor and consultant, that are going to come up and bring us a plan back to council that we can implement to go forward and look forward into the county. So they've had a couple of public meetings that we talked about. There's some things with strategies and goals on the website. So take a look at that. The meetings, I believe the meetings are over, right, Mr. Ward? So we're done with the meetings. Can we still get feedback on the website, though? We can still do feedback on the website. Go jump on the county website and just put your feedback in. If you've got some expertise in that, we'd really love to hear it, because we want to hear from the people who know how to make it happen. I think that's really important for us. So we've had a couple of emergencies lately. I don't know if y'all noticed, but we had some storms and an ice storm and a couple of hurricanes and some floods, which has really helped our emergency management department get very good. It's been unfortunate. We've dodged some major bullets, but we've also had some people that have been really adversely affected by flooding, particularly down at the Ashley River, down toward Eagle Creek. We know those are flood zones, but it's also prepared us for the events in the future. We've got one of the best emergency management directors, that guy in the red shirt, who's standing beside the guy who's at the podium, who's standing beside the sheriff who's taking a nap, because I'm just that boring when I talk. So, when you take a look at that, Mario in the red shirt's really good, and we're proud to have him. I mean, that guy really makes a difference. The ice storm was our first test, and then we've had a couple of storms since then where we've been able to really fine-tune what we're able to do in Dorchester County. We're ready for an emergency event, as ready as you can be. And I'm really proud of what they've been able to do. We've got some new flood zone evacuation maps that have been put in, so if you're in the Oak Brook area particularly, or if you're out toward the Ashley River, there's some flood zone maps that have changed as far as like when you need to evacuate, when the governor calls for evacuation. Mario's been in charge of that. We really appreciate the great job that he's done, because it's made a huge difference in how we can respond and how we can respond responsibly. His connections with the state, national level are just second to none. I know Councilman Chinnis will say that because he's worked with him closely as chairman. Bill Hearn as well, even JJ Missouri. If he can put up with JJ Missouri, he can really put up with a lot. So we appreciate that. One of the things that we did this year, which I'm really proud of, and I'm going to go backwards just a little bit. We merged Old Fort Fire Department with Dorchester County Fire and Rescue, and that was a huge deal. But that would not have been possible if it wasn't for the work that came before that. Because Councilman Chinnis, Councilman Bailey, and a few others, I believe Councilman Hearn was chairman at the time, we basically, with Jason Ward's help, we got all of the rural fire departments to agree to come into one county-wide fire department. That's important. It can't go understated how important that is for ISO ratings, just to eliminate the whole territory and fiefdom thing that you would have between fire departments. You would have territorial wars about who's going to respond to what or who gets what pot of money. We brought all those guys in. They saw the vision of understanding it's better to be part of one county-wide fire department. And at this point, we've really got a great Dorchester County Fire and Rescue. We were able to take that and merge with Old Fort Fire. Old Fort Fire has been around for 40 years, and they cover the Oak Brook area They've done a great job. But the honest answer is they were starting to slowly starve because their revenues are drying up. As Somerville and North Charleston grew, their revenue started to drop. They didn't have enough revenue to operate. It made sense for us to bring them in. So honestly, one of the things that happened is we took over a fire district a couple of years ago. It didn't go as well in Niceville as it should. I called Steve Burke, who's the chairman of Old Fort Fire at that time. I invited him to go to Swing and Swine. It's amazing what you can get done eating barbecue lunch, talking with somebody, because at that table we seriously just came to agreement. He's like, you know what, I trust that you and the council are going to do the right thing. You're going to take care of my guys. That's what he was talking about. You're going to take care of my guys. You're going to take care of the people. Absolutely. And what we were able to do is bring those guys in. We merged them in with the county fire department. We're down to basically four fire departments in the county now. Somerville Fire Department, North Charleston, we got Ashley River over beside Bosch, and then Dorchester County Fire and Rescue. So you don't have a lot of fiefdoms and territories to have to worry about. And what it's also done is it's allowed us to establish automatic aid in a lot of places. And automatic aid basically just says whoever the closest fire truck is, it doesn't matter if it's in the town or in the county, that's who's going to be called. And at the end of the day, when your house is on fire, you don't care what the name is on the side of the red truck, you just want it to get there quick. And that's the biggest thing that we've been able to accomplish. We're going to continue to grow that strategy because that's something we believe in. It helps with ISOs, which helps with payments, but more importantly, it keeps our staff safer, it keeps our people safer. And that's something that we've been able to do with that. And that was a really huge win, not for the county, but for the community. We feel like that is something that's really going to pay dividends for us in the future for safety. We also purchased a couple of new fire engines. We just dedicated one over at the Latson Road Station, the Hood Station. It's a $460,000 new fire truck, is that right? Do I remember that number right? Give or take? Brand new, state of the art. It's wonderful. I mean, so that's the first one we purchased for Dorchester County. We've got that one out on the road. And then two other ones that we put at Ridgeville and St. George the last couple of years. And one of the things too, by merging the fire department, we were actually in discussions where we were going to build a new medic station in Oak Brook, and that was going to cost us about $1.5 million. So one of the things we were able to do by taking Old Fort Fire into the county, we had a fire station that had capacity. We were able to house those EMS units in there. We were able to save the taxpayers $1.5 million. We don't need to build a medic building now because we were able to just consolidate, which made a huge difference. So we don't have to worry about that capital project. That lets us put money towards something else. So those are the type of things that when we merge and we combine our resources, we really can do some great things. We purchased a lot of equipment for our EMS as well as our firemen, and we've got enhanced CPR training and the fit responder, just making sure that the guys that are coming out, that are responding to the fire or whatever the event is, that they're ready to go. I mean, that's very important, and I think Chief Trey Axton's done a great job with that. Okay, this is my baby. So we're going to be here for about 2 hours. And I'll let you, if you guys know anything about me, you know that I'm pretty passionate about this. So in 2010, we got elected, Chennis and I and Mr. Bailey. 2011, we started talking about, what do we do with this $5 million bond referendum to pass? And one of the things that we did is we took that money and I think we really wisely invested it. We bought 83 acres on the Ashley River for $1.6 million. George Bailey flew to Baltimore to get the lien holder for the second bank that had it in foreclosure to get them to agree to sell it to us. We actually were able to pull that down. I think Mike Rose, you guys helped us out with it, with buying that property because y'all had it listed. And it really just worked out well because the investor at that time, it's going to be 140 something houses. They had $7 million in the ground. We bought it for 1.6. Now we've got 83 acres on the Ashley River with 3/4 of a mile of Ashley River frontage. It's going to be a wonderful park. We just dedicated a canoe and kayak put in over there, DNR funds and some grant funds we put in over there. If you drive over the Ashley River Bridge on Bates Ridge Road, just look to your left and you'll see it down there. It's getting very heavy usage. We're already seeing a lot of community response on that, and that was built totally with grant funding. And the town of Somerville, I believe, Mr. Martin, y'all putting one in over at Justin Boat Landing, so you're going to have a kayak put in at Justin Boat Landing just down the river. We're going to be putting another kayak put in up at Slands Bridge, which is up at 17A. And then North Charleston, I'm reading, is buying Kings Grant, where they're talking about putting the kayak put in down at the Kings Grant Old Golf Course. So you're going to have 4 really nice kayak trips. You're going to have a great canoe kayak trail. If you ever want to get out on the Ashley River and just go out and enjoy that with your canoe kayak, it's going to be a great opportunity to do that. And this just all comes from having a vision of what do we want to see? We don't want to see houses everywhere. We want to be able to conserve our green space. We want to be able to make sure that we do the right things that conserve why we live here and what keeps this place special. The Ashley River Park, and I'll flip over, I think we got a visual on that. So this is just this is our concept right now of what the Ashley River Park looks like. And so if you see the roadway on the left, that's Bacon's Bridge Road. And if you're traveling down the map, that's going out towards 61, out towards Legend Oaks. But that park has a 6-acre pond on it. DNR already came out and stocked it. We're going to keep that stocked for a fishing pond. If you live around here, you kind of know there's really no place to go take a little Johnny to go fishing. I mean, unless you got a boat, it's tough to find somewhere where you can really just go out, go fishing for an hour, spend some time with your son, your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter, and be able to do those things. Well, that pond, we're going to keep that going. The park itself is going to have a lot of things. How many of you have been to James Island or Wanamaker County Parks in Charleston? Everybody, right? I mean, so you like it? Think of those same concepts right here 10 minutes from our house. Instead of having to drive over to Wanamaker, instead of having to drive an hour down to James Island County Park. So we're looking at a ropes course, we're looking at a climbing wall, a large playground out there. There's going to be a small dog or a dog park where you can, if you got people that live in neighborhoods where they really just can't let the dog stretch their legs, they're going to be able to come out there and do that. There's going to be running trails. There's already walking trails out on the river. We've got a dock out on the river that the previous developer put out there. There's going to be some pavilions that you could rent if you had a high school reunion or a wedding event, you want to go out there. This park really is going to have a lot of that, and it's going to have about 450 parking spaces. And the other thing we thought we would do is down in the bottom of it, you see that little gray circle beside the pond, we're going to put a little stage out there. So if we want to do a little community bluegrass concert or a gospel hour or whatever you want to name it, this is something where we can go out there and do that. Have a couple hundred people, just a gathering place right here in the heart of Somerville, because this right here is basically 10 miles from about 100,000 people in Somerville, if you think about it, versus having to go somewhere else. So we're really excited about that. One, from my standpoint, I believe these are the type of assets that make Dorchester County marketable. People not only want to live here, but if you're going to move a company here, if you're going to work here, you can point at this and say, hey, this is where our employees are going to spend their weekends. This is where they're going to go hang out on weekends so they don't have to drive to Charleston. Not that I don't like Charleston, I love it, but I don't like the traffic. I'd love to be able to stay close to home to be able to do these things. And this is an opportunity that we feel very strongly about. So we've got the funding to be able to take care of that. We've got a lawsuit that's tying that up. Anybody not know about that? All right, we got a little lawsuit that's trying to tie that up. Hope we will win that at the Supreme Court soon. Once that's done, this park will be ready to go this summer. And so if that lawsuit gets ruled on the Supreme Court this year, we'll be ready to go on that. But we're real excited about that one. That one's one that really right here, close to your homes, is going to make a huge difference. We've got another one that's going up in St. George, which we really feel strongly about as well, up at the Courthouse Park. And that's going to be a little bit different. We've got 2 baseball fields, a soccer field, some basketball courts, a pavilion, because we feel like that community really needs good active recreation for their kids. And so we've got spec building, we'll talk about in a minute, up at Winding Woods. We want to create jobs up there. Well, one way to create jobs and be able to lure companies to come down here is, here's a park where your kids and your employees are going to spend their nights. They're going to be out there on weeknights, they're going to be out there on weekends, and they're going to be enjoying where they live, and then they're ready to come to work on Monday. So we feel like that's going to be another good win for us as well. All right, I lied to you. I didn't talk that long about parks. So let's talk about roads and infrastructure, because that's also pretty important. So one of the things that we're really, really proud of is what happened to Delaware Highway. So Delaware Highway right now is finished. They should still be working on Delaware Highway until August by the contract. So they finished that early. By the contract date, it should have been, they finished it about November, and they should have still been doing it, and it came in about $1 million under budget, so we're real excited about that. Anybody out at Ashley Ridge High School was very excited about it, because now you have a very nice road going to Ashley Ridge High School instead of a very narrow road with no margin of error whatsoever, and that was a high priority project for all of us on council to get that done. It took a while to get the funding worked out, because we just needed to get some extra money from the state, and we certainly appreciate Senator Bennett helping with that, because that was something from the infrastructure bank when he helped out with that. I know Katie's been very supportive of that, and Chris has as well, so we appreciate our delegation helping make that happen. March 2018 was pretty special because we actually got the first ever Tiger Grant money for Dorchester County to help with phase 2 of 78. And so that's going to give us the money to be able to finish that phase, which is going to be awesome. So we're going to be able to do our work out there. It's a $26 million project, and we're really looking forward. I mean, that's in the design, and right-of-way is being done right now. Getting that widening done, it certainly needs to be done, but that's the first time we've ever gotten Tiger Grant money in Dorchester County. And really want to just give kudos to Mr. Ward, because he works his tail off in this county. He's probably the best county administrator in the state of South Carolina. I appreciate what he does, because without his work and Connie's work, all right, Highway 27 widening is happening, and the engineering is nearly complete on that. Orangeburg Road roundabout, anybody riding through that coming over here from Pinewood? Okay, it's coming, it's getting better, and that'll be a whole lot better once that's done. And speaking of Orangeburg Road, there's a traffic light going at the end of Orangeburg Road in 78. that's being put in, and that's being installed right now. That was something that the developer agreed to do in 2007. They kind of didn't want to do it in 2018, and we sent them a letter and said, yeah, you can still do that. So they're putting that in, and we appreciate them doing that. Approximately 2.7 has been spent on repair and resurfacing county roads. We've got a lot of work. The snowstorm that we had this past year, I mean, that really tore our roads up pretty good, and I know that you guys have seen that, so that's put us behind a little bit, but we're working on that, trying to get that moving in the right direction. So here's some of the exciting things from the economic development standpoint. We've had 7 announcements. John does a great job. I mean, and just one of the things, we're talking with any of the prospects that have come in here, they all really love John. And I appreciate what he's done for that. And John said it earlier, you don't get any of this done without good people. We don't get anything done on council without having good people on council, good staff. And John, I appreciate you and your staff and what y'all do, because we are creating new jobs. We do want to create those jobs here. You can see the numbers for yourself. I'm not going to just read them to you. But at the end of the day, what we want to be able to do is talk about creating more jobs here close to home. Good paying jobs, keeping people close to home, increasing our tax base. The one thing that Dorchester County has struggled with forever is just we've got a really great residential tax base, except, you know, we're educating the kids, but Act 388 doesn't cover the schools. You know how that works. But we need more commercial, we need more industrial. And that's one of the things we're focused on, because what that'll do is that's really going to help us all. It's going to get our jobs close to home. It's going to make our tax base healthier in the county. We can be able to build our roads better. We can do a whole lot more. And one of the things we did want to talk about is the apprenticeship programs. So the apprenticeship programs is pretty important because you're seeing a lot more of that. You're seeing a lot more kids that don't necessarily want to go get $100,000 in debt to go to Clemson. They want to come out and they want to get a job, and they can come out and make $50,000 a year. They can start as an apprentice. They get their training at Trident. They get their training over at the Dorchester Career School. They start working with that company while they're still in high school. Some of you guys are actually doing that, and we appreciate you giving those kids an opportunity, because they're going to be your future workers. They're going to be your future leaders. And they don't have to come out of school $100,000 in debt. I think that's really important for the future. We're seeing that tide turn a little bit. Used to be everybody had to go to college. Now everybody's starting to think, no, not necessarily. I can go get a really good paying job, and I don't necessarily have to go to college or go into debt to be able to do that. And we're seeing a lot more of that. You're seeing that in District 2, District 4, all around. And then we talk about that CRDA and everywhere else. So this is something that's been tripping us up for a while. A lot of you guys probably know the story better than I do. We've just been running into wetlands issues. You know, so the old story, you know, we kind of had Volvo here. I remember, were you chairman, Mr. Chinnison's chairman? Volvo was coming. We pretty well lost Volvo over basically a couple acres of wetlands. You know, they had to redelineate the property, and they decided, okay, it was going to mess with the entire permit. So, you know, we've been working with that. We really appreciate the delegation. We appreciate Sean and his work trying to help us with OCRM, just trying to get some things done where we can identify some key sites where we can go ahead and aggressively start working on wetlands, how we mitigate them, how we permit them, and make sure that we can get those jobs there so that we don't spend years and years just languishing in the permitting process. We think that's really important. So that's council did approve $170,000 from the EDF to fund some of these delineations, which is important. So we feel like we're getting ahead of the curve from the development standpoint. John's done a good job. We've got we really have got good identification of properties, whether it's being Winding Woods, our properties over here in Jedburgh, and as well as the Ridgeville tract. So we feel good about that. So one of the things Mr. Chellis loves to talk about is we're about the only county, I think we are the only county in South Carolina of our size that does not have a location of higher education within the county itself. Is that right, Mr. Chellis? We've talked about that. You've been discussing that. And that is something I think is pretty important. We do want to get a Trident Tech or some sort of a tech campus within the county. One of the things that we did agree to do is the American LaFrance building. We put some money towards that, just try to figure out, can we go ahead and take that down and start that process? Technically, it's in Berkeley County, but it's pretty darn close to us. And we're really not necessarily looking at that from a tax-based standpoint. We just want our citizens to have a place that's really close, 15 minutes from home, versus having to go down to Rivers Avenue to be able to take classes, so that they've got their opportunities without tying up into traffic and those type of things. And that's our first step. But we are committed to trying to get something within Dorchester County over the long term to be able to increase that, partnering with District 2, District 4, however we need to do it to get those guys here, because at the end of the day, that's where we're going to be training our workforce. That's a lot of good continuing education. And if you're like me, I look at some of the stuff they do. I mean, they've got all kind of great courses. Just if you want to go take a culinary, how to cook Italian class, they've got a lot of things. We'd love to be able to offer that here close to home, so that our people can take part of that and we don't have to drive all the way down to North Charleston to do it. The other thing we're pretty excited about is that lean manufacturing certificate that we just put out. If you guys have seen that, we've got I think a public meeting coming up the first Saturday in June where we're inviting people to come out. And that's really just something that's going to allow people who don't have the experience that they can get some experience by taking a certificate. They can get some experience and go ahead and get plugged into those jobs. One of the things that you guys know is we're really struggling to get the workforce that we need to be able to make things happen. This gets people who are just sort of falling between the cracks. They don't quite meet certain criteria, but they're falling between the cracks. Give them a certificate, let them get some credit for experience, get them plugged in with your employment workforce, and they can get in there and start helping you make money, helping the company succeed, and helping their own family to make money. Now this is something that's been going on for decades. How long have we been working on this, Mr. Ward? Lake Marion Water, 20 years?
22 years.
22 years. Congressman Clyburn, this is his personal baby. He's been working hard on it. We appreciate his support because he has really worked hard to get that down here. One of the things that we've always struggled with in Dorchester County on the other side of the county is just lack of water. And getting that Lake Marion line down, that's getting completed. It's coming down to Ridgeville. You can see the stats. You know, we've got 11.9 million in it. There's a whole lot more in it than that. But at the end of the day, we've got a lot of things, a lot more than that. We've got a lot of things that are going to come off of that. That Ridgeville Commerce site is being fed off of that. This just really opens up that 78 corridor in Dorchester County so we can look at economic development opportunities up there. And once again, I got to give kudos to Mr. Ward on that. He has stuck with that for a very long time as our county administrator, previous county chairman, and everybody's been working on this, and we are finally starting to see it come to fruition. And with that, you're going to see the tide turn for Dorchester County because we're going to have more opportunities. We're going to have more product. That's one of the things John talks about, lack of product. Well, you can't have product if you don't have proper water and sewer, right? You guys know that. This is going to allow us to be able to do that. So those are the things that we're really excited about because getting that down here, it's taken 22 years, and it's finally come to fruition, and we are in the process of getting that pipe laid down. All right, I'm going to, we got a couple of things here I want to talk about. I'm going to ask a question. Business leaders, how many of you have ever made a business decision that you thought was a good decision and then it took about a week and you're like, that wasn't the best decision. Let me just see a show of hands. Okay, all right, a decent number of you. So the first bullet point, we made a decision that we thought was a good decision. It didn't turn out to be very well. We fixed it. That's just one of those things where the business license, we got that a little bit more aggressive, try to make sure we're pro-business because we saw something on paper, it looked like it made sense. Didn't make sense, we redid it. But it did help us to understand how we could do things better. And that's just one of the things I feel like council really quickly said, like, okay, this is not something we want to do, and we need to go back and fix that. And this was where we really want to be pro-business. We want the jobs, we want you here as employers. We appreciate the fact that you're here as employers. It means a lot to us, and we want to make sure that we continue that. Transition Overlay District and Tree Ordinance, those are some of the things where we talk about, we just want some good design standards in certain parts of the county, but at the same time, we don't want to be cost prohibitive. And the Tree Ordinance is one of the things we're looking at because that's just been pointed out to us where we want to protect our quality of life, but not so much that if you're trying to build a business, it makes it very cost prohibitive where you're having to pay $50,000 to $100,000 to mitigate trees that's going to make your project unviable. We're not interested in necessarily that. But we do want to be able to do things where we're not clear cutting and we're not paving every inch of Dorchester County because certainly we get accused of that sometimes. That is not the case at all. We really just want to make sure, one, we build some quality stuff, and two, we do it in a cost-effective manner so that business can succeed here in Dorchester County. Because we want you to be here, and we also want you to appreciate just what the character is of Dorchester County. And we feel like we put some things in place that really help us with that. We're always looking for feedback. If there's things that you got that we can do things better, we want to hear about it, okay? Because we don't have all the answers. There's a lot of smart people in this room, and you got a lot of smart people that work for you. We'd love to hear any of your answers as well. We've got a spec building going up in St. George at Winding Woods. It's already up. If you've driven up 78, you see that up there. And we get some traffic on that, John. We've had some people start looking at it. I know that we've also got a private spec building over in the Jedburgh area. So we're starting to see a lot of traffic in Dorchester County. We're going to see a lot more, but we're really excited about that. And then the fundraising, you guys, John's already talked to you about that. And it's important. I mean, we just feel like at this point it's time for Dorchester County. We've got to invest in ourselves. And at this point, it's time to invest in ourselves because we want to tell our story. We want to get out there to the community. We want to get out to the business community and just let people know Dorchester County is a special place. You know, and it's not just a place that you want to live, it's a place we want you to do business as well. We want your employees here, we want your business here, and we want to be able to do some things special for you. We feel like that you can be a part of making it even more special than it is. All right, with that, I will wrap up, and I certainly appreciate your time. I'm going to hand the mic over to Gerald Taylor,